Del Basista, dude. I am so pumped to have you on the show today. How you doing, man?
Man, I am doing just great. How about yourself, my friend?
Well, I'm great getting to talk to you about one of the things that I've recently become very passionate about. And like we talked about before I hit record, the Jason Wright Show, the motto is to improve always and always. And sometimes it's about improving your wardrobe. And also, it's
Yeah.
about entrepreneurship, it's about health and wellness. And I discovered not too long ago, whenever I started getting into heritage style boots and this sort of thing, like really well crafted boots, learning, first of all, there's this whole niche out there. I come across
hmm
a dude with a YouTube channel named Del Basista. And he's got this beautiful wall of boots. And I'm going to put this on the YouTube channel. And it's like, if folks, if you're listening to this, you got to go out to my channel and check out this amazing boot collection that Del has. And so I reached out to you to get you on the show. One, because like I said, I'm just getting into this whole deal with boots. And then I
hmm
learned that, and of course, I want to talk about your entrepreneurial journey. You and I are fellow content creators. There's so much there. And I thought, well, I would like to use this show. And then I find out you're into health and wellness. And so we got all kinds of things to talk about. So people just buckle up, be a fly on the wall for what I think is going to be a pretty broad ranging conversation. But before we get started and just let this take us where we're going to go, I want to find out how you turned, because this is where I'm kind of in a healthy way envious of you, man, is that
hmm
it appears from this side of the camera and this side of the YouTubes that you've been able to turn a really cool passion for craftsmanship, leather work, boots, and into an entrepreneurial venture. I mean, I wish
hmm
I didn't have it on because I was about to work out before we got on today. So I don't have my cuff on that I bought from you, which I've worn every day since
Oh, yeah.
I freaking love it, dude. Yes, just like that.
Awesome.
If you're
Awesome.
watching, it looks just like that. Highly recommend it. So cool. Just a nice little rugged touch. So how did this all start? Where did you begin to first of all kind of get into liking heritage style leatherworks? And then when did you start like actually making stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Those are all super good questions. Thank you. And they're super insightful as well. Yeah, so it all started, I was a kid. It's kind of a boring start. I was a fan of Indiana Jones. And fast forward, 20 years, I came across an article, the Indiana Jones boot, the Indy boot. And so I started reading about it. It's the Alden 405 Indy. And I I said, you know what, I have to have a pair of these. This is so cool. I'm so intrigued. Mainly because I wanted to get my hands on a garment that was sort of timeless, that could have existed 100 years ago. I thought that's just mind blowing. It's almost like being able to wear a fossil in a way, or a piece of history. And so I went and I bought some indie boots, and I bought the 403 and the 405. The 403 is in brown chrome excel, which is a huge departure from the veg tan Austin leather that the 405 is made in. And so I'm wearing both of these for months, and I'm like, there are some stark differences between both of these boots, like huge differences. The chrome excel stretches, the veg tan on the 405s does not. It's super duper firm temper, resilient, no stretch. And so I decided, okay, I'm just going to do a quick YouTube video in my bedroom, and I'm just going to hold the camera down and show the boots and talk about them. And I uploaded that thing. It's still my most popular video. I think it's surpassed 50,000 views or something like that.
Isn't that great? Can I tell you something real quick, Dale? So
Yeah.
Tim Ferriss, his most
Mhm.
popular YouTube video is one of him. Have you seen this where he takes the shell off a boiled egg without cracking the shell, or he just like pokes a hole and blows it? That's like his most popular YouTube video ever. It's got over 2 million views. Isn't it random?
Interesting.
Isn't that random how the YouTubes work? Good luck trying to figure out what people actually want to see. I mean, Dale goes and buys a pair of Alden Indies and just goes to his bedroom. That blows up. Yet I guarantee if you and I
Yeah.
spend days preparing for this interview and trying to get our set just right and the camera just right, yeah, it probably bombs. So anyway, go ahead, man.
Yes.
What I can
Exactly.
It makes perfectly sense that's your best video or your
Yeah. It,
video.
it, it was it was improv. It was back when my channel was called Aero Surfer LV, which is um a username that I created in high school. Back when I was like 16 years old or something like that. It was my AOL name, and so I just made it my YouTube name. I did not have any plans to make it a channel officially. Um, but then, yeah, you're right. Like capturing that lightning in a bottle, it's so hard to tell what is going to do well. I look at the original Star Wars trilogy. George Lucas still to this day has no clue what made that original trilogy just magical. And he tried to do it with the second trilogy and failed. And then we see what's happening with Disney now, obviously.
Uh,
Nobody can nobody can recreate that original magic. It just comes together in sort of a weird cosmic way. It almost by random happenstance. But yeah. So anyways, and that said, I never started my channel with the intention of making it mega popular. I wanted it to be super specific and granular, and I wanted to just follow certain niche topics that I didn't see covered anywhere else. And so I started sort of just vlogging about my boots, and you know, the channel has it's slow growth. It's never exploded. I've never had a video where it just, blew up the internet or anything like that. But that's never been my goal. I've always wanted to just keep it slow, steady growth, keep it calm, keep it casual. But at the same time, I want to explore and highlight brands, frankly, that don't get much coverage. So I talked about Alden. I was looking for Alden videos back in the day. That's what led me to record that original video, because there just wasn't much content on Alden. So I said, okay, I'm going to start talking about Alden. I'm going to start talking about Viberg. And then, because there was a lot of channels at the time, they covered Red Wing with all Red Wing stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do Red Wing. I'm going to cover Alden and Viberg and Truman Boots and Grant Stone. And then I started discovering, oh, boot making is actually a lot like sandwich making. Anybody can do it all across the world. You fly to Vietnam, you can get sandwiches. You fly to France, you can get sandwiches. You fly to, Zimbabwe, you can get sandwiches. So everybody across the planet in small workshops, small operations are building boots. And I just thought that was so cool. And talking about that entrepreneurial spirit, I really wanted to highlight the little guys that didn't have much coverage at all. And then one thing led to another. I bought a backpack from Etsy from a real small shop in New York City who has since closed down. But it was the only shop in the world making Chrome XL backpacks. And they closed down. I was going to go buy a second one, and I was heartbroken when they closed down. And I'm like, well, why don't I try to make one myself? I've been carrying this bag around for 2 years, and been analyzing it up and down, carrying it every day. I know every dimension of it, basically. I'm like, how hard could it be to make this myself? And so I just winged it. I thought I was going to fail. I thought it was going to be a disaster, but it turned out it actually came together. And, to me, that was so surprising. And so I was just so excited. I gifted it to my friend Dave, and he loved it. He wasn't, blowing smoke up my butt. He actually loves this thing and carries it every day. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to slowly evolve this channel from just covering boots, which I still do, but I'm going to slowly evolve this to actually making my own product, because, part of what drew me to boots originally, that old world craftsmanship, I was so thirsty to learn how to do that myself. And, since I started, it's just been so much fun. It's so fulfilling to make stuff with your hands. It truly is. That's why I encourage anybody who watches my channel, please start your own leatherwork. If you're into this, start it yourself. You can do it yourself. Please, it will reward you in ways you can't even anticipate. So,
were you a handy guy before? I mean, like, do you naturally when you're growing up, do you build things? Is that something that you're handy about? Really?
absolutely not. No, no, absolutely not. My grandfather used to bring me over and he'd show me how to hammer,
Yeah.
proper hammering techniques. And I took a woods class in high school and a metal working class in high school. But other than that, never. I'm useless when it comes to cars. I could barely change my own tie. Never got my hands dirty. I've always been on computers my whole life, my whole career. So something in me was really yearning to make something with my hands. So that's kind of how it started. Surprisingly, leatherwork is woodwork. If you know some basic fundamentals of woodworking, you could do leatherwork easily. It's highly analogous. The two both have grain, both are natural materials. You do a lot of sanding. You do a lot. It's a lot of the same skills as woodworking. So that's
What your story reminds me of. So, Rag and Bone is one of my favorite brands. I wear a lot of their denim, of course. Again, now I'm finding out about all these heavy selvage, denims like, what is it? Ironworks? Is that the right, is that, is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, there's Ironworks, Ironheart. There's a
Ironheart is
lot.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Ironheart, the one I'm thinking of though, and just all
Okay.
different brands of like heritage denim. But I'm kind of like a rag and bone is kind of like my go-to jean. And one of the reasons why is because of the story behind the brand, which was Marcus Wainwright. He comes over to the States and he decides he can't find a pair of jeans that he really likes. And he just decides same like you. He was not in
Yeah.
fashion, didn't go to Parsons or the New York Institute of Design or whatever it's called. He just decided I want to try to make a pair of jeans. Goes down to the garment district, buys some denim that he said was really crappy. After he made it, he was really disappointed. But eventually, he kept perfecting it until all of a sudden he ends up making what would become Rag and Bone, making his own pair of jeans. And
Awesome.
and I remember his story and thinking, "That is amazing," and it sounds like you've kind of followed that path because and I've thought
Mhm.
about and I think that's a good message for the audience because, you know, there's 2 things. One, you just touched on that I cover on the show a lot, which first of all, the neuroscience component. You're exactly right.
Mm.
There is an incredible, benefit to the mind and a dopamine release whenever you start to work with your hands and you press through the resistance of that and get through and you create something. There is actually a neurological benefit to that. So it doesn't surprise me that you found such benefit in that. So for that,
Yeah.
so folks, if even if you don't want to make a really cool day pack or a pair of boots or something like that, or a belt, or
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, then it literally it's if you can find something to build, you should build. I was listening to Tim Ferriss had this conversation, I think, with the founder of Money Mustache. I think that's what it's called. This really popular finance newsletter, and the guy was telling Tim
Okay.
one day about how he built his own shed, his own like tool shed and
Mhm.
telling him, "Hey, you've got to get out and build something." And Tim Ferriss is so over the top. He probably went and built a house with his bare hands and one nail or something stupid like that. And then did another video blowing a boiled egg out of a shell. So
Yeah. Exactly.
but anyway, so that makes perfect sense, dude. So I mean, I
Mhm.
commend you for doing that. And
Oh,
then
thank you.
and then so okay, and also for this audience again, and to the Jason Wright Show audience, I know you're probably hearing terms like Chrome Excel and then, the different models. I mean, the models of boots, kind of like models of, watches. It's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing too, that if there's a whole and I love the fact, man, that you're really onto something that you really niched down as far as the content
Mhm.
creation. So kind of explain to this audience when it comes to well, no, I want you to explain as you go. Just think about this. When you're talking about Chrome Excel and all these stuff that are all new terms to me that I've just found out, like the boots.
Mhm.
I emailed you about those freaking Cordovan shell, Maduro shell, whatever from Grant Stone,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude. Yeah, which you've got a pair, don't you? You've got the exact pair.
Yeah.
Yes, those
Right here.
those
Grails.
so money. All right, so
Yeah.
while
Thank
we
you.
got those in front of us, while we got those,
Yeah.
explain to this audience why someone
Mhm.
would pay. I think those are now $7.95, I think is what the pre-order
Yeah.
is on those. So $800 for a pair
Mhm.
of boots. Why would anybody pay that kind of money for that boot, Dell?
Very good question. Well, first off, it's the upper material, which is shell cordovan, which is a subcutaneous layer to the horse's butt, essentially. And I could actually grab some horse butt if you want. I have a
Grab
side.
anything you want. Take your time, do whatever you need to do.
Okay.
Let's
Cool. Cool.
let's
Sounds good.
educate some people about boots. I wanna get more people into boots.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go across my leather shop and
I feel cool. I get to see, like, little behind the scenes, little nooks and crannies of the shop that I don't get to see on your channel all the time. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
cool
There's
space,
my
man. That's so
there's my
awesome, dude.
Yeah, that's my wall with all the leather, and then over there, I just renovated. Um, I have my machinery over there, and you
Wow,
can see I'm building a bag. It's a
so
it's a
cool.
bit of a mess, but it's a work in progress. I really believe in keeping the space clean and manageable, and I was getting really um claustrophobic in here when I had all my machines on this one table that I'm talking to you on. I couldn't actually lay leather down and cut it. It was turning into a nightmare, so I had to expand the shop.
I get it, I
So
get it.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of the mental benefits. It's important to have a good, clean work area to work in. It's for your sanity. But yeah, essentially, what this boot is made of is shell cordovan. And when I say it's a subcutaneous layer of the horse's rump, so this whole thing is a horse's rump right here. This is Mariam's navy horse rump, and it's the reason why the shell is special is because it's not exactly skin. So you can see the shell portion right here. See how it's much more saturated,
Mhm.
and it's a lot more. It's almost more of a cartilage than a skin. Whereas when I flip it this way, you can see this portion here is the skin. This whole thing is horse rump, but only one small subsection of it is shell cordovan, which is which is this area here. And you can see how the shell sort of
Yeah.
dissipates out down here. You still see little bits of shell down here, but it's not connected to the larger body of it. And so the shell cordovan, it's the most non-porous leather in the world because it is, I would argue, not exactly leather because it's not exactly skin. And it's highly waterproof, and it's almost plasticky in appearance. It's so shiny, it retains the shine. It's really good on a dress boot. But this leather is highly sought after, both for the cosmetic properties and the functional properties. It doesn't form creases, it forms rolls like you can see on the toe here.
Mhm.
Whereas if you contrast that with, say, a standard like this, these are more of a this is just a veg tan from Badalassi Carlo.
Mhm.
This forms creases. I don't know if the camera's capturing the creases, but it's forming rolls and creases, whereas shell doesn't form those micro creases. It actually just forms sort of bulbous rolls like that,
Yeah.
which is really beautiful. So yeah, it's most at home in a dress shoe. And like I said, it just retains its luster forever. If you just use some Venetian shoe cream on it and just buff it out, it's good to go forever. Like it's the fiber structure. I looked into the science of it. The fiber structure, it's got the highest fiber density, I believe, of any leather out there. It's just super duper packed full of fiber. And it's almost glassy in a way. And if you rough it up, you can just sort of mat it back down, and it just stays forever. In fact, I have my wallet. Let's see, my wallet is also shell Ashland leather,
Oh,
um,
nice.
black marbled shell cordovan wallet, and I've been carrying this for probably a year now, and it's really darkened up and just it's just gnarly. And you can see the shine there. I don't shine it, I don't buff it. It's just naturally how that always looks.
You make that one, or did you say you bought it?
Oh, I bought it from my buddy Phil at Ashland Leather.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. Very small maker. Phil is friends with the Horweens. He basically is a
Oh, wow.
family friend of the Horween family, and he actually runs a podcast with Nick Horween. It's called the Full Grain Podcast. I
Okay.
highly recommend it. Phil is where I get all my leather knowledge from. He is truly, talk about niche. He is truly niche as well. He is, I love that guy. He's so smart. He really, I got probably most of my leather knowledge from him, actually. So
Well, one of the things that's cool about, like, okay, so that boot that we were just talking about, that,
yeah,
Maduro, uh, boot, you actually did a video where you took that thing out. Now, again, we're talking about, an $800 boot that you took and you beat the hell out of that thing, and,
yeah,
I mean, you can go anywhere and do anything, and what really blew my mind as I started looking at this, I'm like, okay, so I have a confession to make. My
hmm
wife got me started buying Golden Goose sneakers, okay? So I
oh,
have,
okay,
which is could not be more of an antithesis to heritage work boots, right? I mean, it's like the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And
definitely,
you'll pay, 500-600 bucks for a sneaker that is not gonna last any longer than any other sneaker. And then what you're investing in with these really well-crafted boots is a product that, 1, it's a true artisan product, and 2, it's gonna last you as long as, my gosh, probably, I mean, that boot's gonna outlive you, Dell.
yeah,
You might have to
it
have it
will.
sold, but it's gonna outlive you, right? I mean, that's the
It
cool part.
definitely will, no
That's
doubt about it. Yeah, and part of the reason, I'm really into health, so I'm really happy you reached out to me because this is allowing me a new avenue, to sort of let my kooky health side out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because everybody thinks I'm crazy when I talk about health, but they probably think I'm crazy when I talk about leather too. But part of the reason why this is going to last basically forever is because it's made with all natural, well, mostly natural materials. You know, this is from the most durable portion of the horse's rump, and the inside is lined with a veg tan lining. I'm not sure if the camera is capturing that, but
Yeah.
basically, what leather offers, as opposed to the synthetic materials that sneakers are made out of, is leather actually operates like your skin. All you have to do, it breathes, it naturally is moisture wicking. I'm sure you guys use that term a lot with, gym gear, moisture wicking. It's naturally moisture wicking. It's got a ton of firm, dense support. Like these leather stacks in here are far more supportive for your foot and your spine and your body's structure than, say, rubber. Now, this is made on a rubber commando outsole, but the leather insole and midsole offers that just amazing, incredible support. I don't know if you're into biking or not, but you know how bike seats, you could pay like $500 for a
Exactly.
really lightweight, high density foam bike seat.
Yep.
That's similar to what leather does. You could spend $10 and get a super squishy bike seat from Walmart, and you might think it's comfortable at first, but then as you live on it, as you go through the paces through it, it becomes a nightmare. If you're looking to bike 40 miles on a Walmart bike seat that's super cushy and squishy, you're gonna hate life. That's why the guys that get more serious about biking, they graduate into buying those $400, $500 high density foam bike seats. That's essentially what leather is. It's nature's version of a very high density material. And that's why I sell insoles on my website as well. I stamp them out myself using veg tan, because you could go buy the Dr. Scholl or whatever insoles from Walgreens, and they're squishy, and but what's the downside? They're not good for long term. They get nasty after a while. They don't breathe. They don't moisture wick, and they're not that natural support that your body actually needs for long term success. And so, I do believe I am somewhat religious too, so I do have that aspect. I believe God gave us everything we need, and He gave us what we need with animal skin. And if we use it and we use it properly, it lasts forever. And it's just part of the master design that he created. And I do think that man-made synthetic materials do have their place, but at the same time, the superiority is unmatched, in my opinion, when it comes to leather. So
Dude,
that's
you're talking my language now. Yeah,
oh, cool.
yeah, you're definitely talking my language in this, and the listeners of this podcast, they know that. So that's awesome. And
Cool.
funny you said that because um I just had, I don't know if you saw, I released, well, it was yesterday. I had a conversation with Rabbi Daniel Lappin, who's known as America's Rabbi. And it was fun
Awesome.
as, obvious, I'm a Christian, he is Jewish. And we were talking about these principles, like what we're talking about, working with your hands, natural products, just financial good stewardship. It's like, these things
Mhm.
are tied to our faith, but it's because it's the way things were designed to operate. And I'd
Yes.
so when we talk about health and wellness, going back to Gus Vickery that I was telling you about earlier, it's like, that's why he and we partnered on Authentic Health. His whole practice is about not attacking, but just managing and the body the way it was designed at the cellular,
Mhm.
to making sure that the body is functioning the way it was designed first, instead of trying to put, the engine where it doesn't go in the car. No, put the engine where it goes, and then treat the engine the way it was designed to operate. Don't try to put, diesel in a gasoline engine. No, it needs high octane fuel. So anyway, so that all resonates with me, my brother. So
Awesome.
so
I'm so glad to hear that.
absolutely, I love that. All right, so let's get back to this entrepreneurial conversation with Dell's Leatherworks. All right, so you went and you make this day pack, and which, good for you that it turned out well, dude. I would have made the most hideous looking thing that you ever saw. I know it because I have zero. My wife, if she listens to this, she'll say, "Yeah, amen to that." I have zero handy skills. I'm a horrible dude. It's funny because both of our daughters are really, really artistic. I mean, they're amazing. I don't know if they could build anything, but they're unbelievably artistic. And I can write, and I do write books and that sort of thing. But when it comes to actually crafting something, yeah, forget about it. I'm terrible. So when when did you decide after fulfilling that kind of that you scratched that itch to make your own thing? When did it
Mhm,
become a business? And has it in what stage are you? Is it still a passion business or is this something that you're like, "No, I have a business plan, and I'm scaling this thing slowly on my own time frame. I have milestones and goals." Kinda when did it make that transformation from passion to business?
mhm.
Kinda where are you in that journey right now?
That's a great question. Well, I consider myself a hobbyist. I am not full-time with leather work. It though so to make things easy, I okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. So my buddy Jimmy, was running a very small operation in his basement called Trinity Handmade. He was making the boot kilties, which, he got burnt out making boot kilties, and so he asked me like, "Hey man, do you mind picking this up? I'll send you the dies. I'll send you instructions. I'll give you everything you need to get started. Would you mind taking this over? Because there are a lot of guys that want these boot kilties. So I sell them now on my website." And so I said, "Sure, man. I'll do it." So these are the boot kilties that he designed that I sell now, and yeah, it just goes into the tongue. Let's see if I have an example. Okay, yeah, these are my Willys Lager boots in
Beautiful.
olive, veg tan Badalassi, and you can see I have a Mariam TPR horse butt kiltie in there. Um, so he handed that off to me, and soon as I got the stuff in, I went on, I forget what website to start my own website, and, it just started there. I started the website, I hired a guy to design my logo, and so I got the logo onto the website, and I was just selling kilties on the website at the time. And then from there, I said, "You know what? Why don't yeah, I started just organically making these cuffs that just sort of came with cutting straps. I'm like, I want to wear this leather. What's a simple way I could put this leather on my body? So that transitioned to cuffs, and then it transitioned to belts. And the whole time I was sort of just handling my bag orders through DMs. And so, but yeah, essentially that's how it all got started. A lot of moving parts just came together, and I said, you know what, I need to make a website. I'm going to call it Dale's Leatherworks, inspired by Steve Beto, and Beto's Leatherworks. And I just decided to just sort of make it a solo run, simple operation, just something as a hobbyist to do in my free time, and while continuing doing the YouTube content and the interviews and stuff like that. And so where I'm at now, let's see, I'm making about 10K profit a year since I started about 2 years ago. Or
Wow.
no, when did it start? 2020, I think. So yeah, it's like, I invest some, I probably make 30% overall back what in profit. And so it's not enough to live on by any stretch, but it's enough for me to continue buying leather and continue this passion of developing product and keeping the business going. I hope I like it similar to my YouTube channel. I want slow growth. I don't want it to get super out of hand. I don't want to become Roseanneville with multiple people, in my workshop on my pay scale. Like that's a lot to me because I do have a full-time job. Um, and as does the wife, and we're busy. We have 3 kids between us, and we're about to get some Maine Coon cats this week. so, so, like I said, I've always been about steady growth, slow growth. That's sort of my pace. I'm just sort of, that's just sort of my disposition towards things. I don't want it to turn into something massive. I've followed some of these boot companies, and Vincent Truman Boots, he just recently decided, okay, I want to turn my operation from, this slow growth thing. I want it to actually get bigger now. And he's been doing it for like 8 years. So he's finally to that stage, but I'm nowhere near that. I still consider myself a hobbyist. I still look to the professionals for advice and for guidance and stuff like that. So I do not try to overstep my station at all. I'm not trying to blow up and be huge. Yeah. And that's the other thing when it comes to religion. I don't want, I never wanted my ego to sort of take priority. I want to keep God as my number one priority. And I want to make sure that in all these transactions that I'm doing, it's for the purpose of community. It's for the purpose of exchange. It's not for profit. I'm not chasing the holy dollar. That's not my thing. I'm not looking to get rich because I know the evils involved with that. Probably don't have to tell you that. Um, I'm sure you're well versed in that. But yeah, that sort of rapacious desire for money just never resonated with me, and that's why I just want to keep it humble, keep my head to the ground, keep working, because I feel that God has called me to work with my hands and to serve others that way, and so that's always my number one goal. It's never been to, oh, I want to buy a yacht one day.
Yeah.
It's never been that. And the second it becomes that, that's when things I think are probably going to start to go downhill. And so I make it a point to treat my customers right. I try to throw in free gifts when I can, with each order. It's just things like that. I consider the gift giving sort of a tithing in a way, giving back to the people that have invested in me. I like I said, I want to keep it. I want to. Those who aren't religious are going to probably scoff at this, but I want to keep God at sort of the core focus of my business. In fact, sometimes I sneak cross stitch design into the it, into the
I love
inside
it.
of the outer
Yep. Yep. Which
pouch,
that
and
that's beautiful, man. He's hol if for those of you who are just listening and not watching, he's holding up one of his that's called a day pack, right? Is that what you're that's a
yeah, this model I call it
it's
the
gorgeous.
Scout model.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and so sometimes to secure this outer cargo compartment to the body, I'll do a cross stitch,
Right.
just to sort of leave the fingerprint on the bag of
Right.
what keeps me going. So
Man, I love that, and you're so right, dude. It's like, have you ever heard it's like a little, I guess you call it a parable about this this MBA investment banker comes across the fisherman on the beach. Have you heard this story?
no,
Oh, dude, you'd love it. I won't give I'm gonna send it to you. I'll email it to you because
okay,
essentially what it does, it's like this MBA, he comes up to this little fishing village somewhere, and this guy, he's going out every day and he's fishing, he's bringing back his fish and he's selling them in the market. Well, the typical MBA sees it, says, "Oh my gosh," and starts throwing out this business plan for him. And the ending of it really kind of brings things in perspective. I'm going to email that to you because you'll love it. It'll totally resonate with you. And it's one of the things too, man. It's like I'm the same way with, and I'm a big believer in divine appointments. I have no doubt. I mean, that's why I don't doubt for a moment why, as I get into this hobby of boots and stuff, that the first guy that I have on the podcast to talk about it is you. I mean, I
yes,
tell you how many stories over the last 6 years of this podcast and only 500 episodes that has happened time and time again. And
wow,
that's the way I've taken this podcast, man. It's like, people have tried one of my mentors, I won't call him by name, but I love him, and he always has my best interest at heart, but he immediately is, like, telling me all these things I need to do to kinda grow it and kinda be like Joe Rogan and all this. I'm like, first of all, I don't wanna be Joe Rogan, and secondly, the reason why Joe Rogan became Joe Rogan, he never cared about being what he is today. It was him and his buddies talking after comedy shows, recording it and putting it out, and it happened by him not trying. If you try too hard, and there's a lot
yeah,
of things that we can all do for a lot more money. I mean, my wife and I talk about this all the time. We try to lead a very modest life that allows us to do the things that we love to do, which is travel, have money to spend on ridiculously expensive boots or something like that, but it's not gonna break the
yeah,
bank, and
right,
you'll find that if you do that, then life is just so much better, man, and so
yes,
I commend you on that, and because what happens is, it just if you were to chase the dollar on this, it would lose sight of why you're doing it. It would become a job, and it would be about the money. And another thing too, you
yes,
convince at Truman. So this is what's kind of amazing to me is that, okay, a boot company like, Grant Stone, Truman. Now Nick's has been around a little while longer, right?
oh yeah.
They're old, right? They're one of the old brands, kind of. Like, how old are
Yeah, they're one of the yeah, Knicks. I'm not sure exactly when they started, but Knicks and Whites, those are sort of the heritage
exactly.
Pacific Northwest makers.
Right.
Yeah.
The but, like, the ones like Grant Stone and Truman, dude, these are companies that have only been around less than a decade, but they're making a product that you would think they've been around for 100 years. And I find that so fascinating. And again, until I jumped into this, I didn't know I didn't know anything about Grant Stone or Truman boots. And then another thing that's cool too is that I'm learning is that, well, Grant Stone's a great example. These are unbelievable.
Mhm.
I got my first pair this last week of a pair. Yep, I got the Diesel and the Earth. That was my first one. And that
Okay.
that you're holding up is they're fantastically made. And I mean, they've been around. How long has Grant Stone been around?
They started when did they really start? I want to say 2014,
That's nuts.
2014. Yeah, it's
No,
crazy.
man. That is
10
not
years. Yeah.
yes. So that just the entrepreneur in me, I see what these and those are businesses you're not supposed to do, not in America.
Mhm.
Now, granted, Grant Stone, they have their boots made in China. And by the way, I learned from that. Folks, if when you hear that, if you think that those are not the highest quality artisan handcrafted boots you've ever worn just because they're in China, you are wrong. Those
Yep.
are beautiful. They're the ones that it's kind of the thing that people will try to knock them, and I think it's like then they go, "Oh, wait a minute." You know?
Yeah.
Right, am I right about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, the made in China thing has always been the struggle for my buddy Wyatt Gilmore at Grantstone. He actually so the story there is he had a long-standing relationship with that shoemaking factory in Xiamen, and that factory doesn't only make Grantstone. They make stuff for other brands as well. And hi- Wyatt's father Randy was going back and forth to China, I believe, for a while, and he decided, okay, we're gonna have Wyatt come out for, a summer or a year to just uh, sort of, what's the word? Apprentice there at the factory and sort of learn leather and shoes and stuff like that. And, he eventually came to the point to where I'm gonna start my own line, and he started Grant Stone because he's so close with the people there, and he didn't outsource just to make money. He actually had a relationship with the factory, and his wife is from there as well. She's Chinese, and being with he's so humble. It's so funny, but being around him in person, like he'll get a call from the factory and he's just speaking Chinese. Like you wouldn't believe how good his Chinese is. And I look at his phone, he gets text messages in Chinese characters and he's typing back in Chinese. I'm like, dude, you are freaking good.
It's
Your Mandarin is
right.
scholarly.
I tried to learn Mandarin a while back 'cause I've been to, China a number of times, but as a matter of fact, my first mission trip was to China. It was in the southern Hunan province of China, and, it started in Lijiang, nearly died. It was crazy. I mean, dude, I was hiking in the most remote areas. We were, like, taking water out of streams and putting tablets in it to purify it, and then we ran out of water. We got kind of off track. I'll tell you that story another day, but
Whoa.
so I decided I was gonna try to learn Mandarin, and I'm still at ni hao and xi xi, that's about it.
Yeah.
That's about as good as I can get, I could say, "Thank you, hi, and thank you," that's about
Yes.
it. Um,
It's such a hard language.
oh, dude, it's so hard. But yeah, so what they've
Brutal.
done at Grand Stone, I think he's definitely dispelled that whole idea that good, high quality can't be made in China. Now I gotta ask you about
Definitely.
something. Okay,
Yeah.
so I haven't actually placed my pre-order for the Maduro shell cordovan. Did I say that right? Maduro cordovan shell or more Maduro shell? How's the proper way to say it?
Yeah. Yeah, Maduro shell cordovan. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, I haven't placed my pre-order yet with Grant
Mhm.
Stone or those because whenever my youngest daughter, she lives in Manhattan, and so we go there a lot. I keep thinking maybe I'll run into Nick on the streets in Soho making a video and say, "Hey, dude, I'm into boots too." Now I can drop your name. Now I can say, "Hey, by the way, I just had Dale on my podcast." But
I'll link you 2 up if you want.
oh yeah, well, actually, so I reached out to him because to get to what I'm about to ask you. All right, so my plan is we're headed back to New York next week. I don't know if you ever watched The Office or not, but I'm a huge Steve Carell fan, and
Okay.
he is about to start his very first Broadway play in Uncle Vanya, and so they're doing a preview at Lincoln Center, and so Jimlin and I are going to town to watch that. And I'm also my daughter, her office is on Fifth Avenue, and you walk out her office door, and right to the right is a Crockett& and Jones store, okay?
Oh, nice. Okay.
Alright, so I went in there. I was actually, it was kind of funny. The last time I was in town, I got to walk her to work, and then I went to wait for her in the lobby when she got off work to walk her to the subway, and we were hanging out. But while I was waiting, I went to the Crockett and Jones store, and dude, their rough out, their waxed rough out Chelsea boot is
Mm,
so ridiculous. And I'm looking for a new Chelsea boot because all of mine are kinda crappy, so I thought, "Okay," and I'm like, "I'm in love with this thing," and then and still, I'm new to this game, so when I see the price tag, I'm like, "Holy cow,"
yeah,
but they're still less than those Grant Stones that I want. So, if you were me, you
yeah.
know, how would you make that decision? Like, if you were me and you're about to, like, step up to your first really for right now, it'll be my Grail boot. It'll be the nicest
Yeah.
I have. Kind of what are some things I should think about, and what would you buy? Knowing everything you know now, what would you get?
Knowing everything I know now, I would go for the shell. Sorry. I would go for the shell cordovan, mostly because I talk about this when Grant Stone runs a rare shell color like this. It's an I see it more of as an opportunity than a purchase
Yeah,
because you can't just get these every day. You have to wait for the opportunity window to open up when they're finally going to do a run. And when they do this run, it's not guaranteed they're ever going to do it again. You know what I mean? So once that opportunity passes, it may never happen again. And I've learned this with Shell, especially. It might be years before you get another opportunity and you may never get this exact build again. So to sort of talk about Shell in simplistic terms, black and color 8 are the two Shell cordovan colors that you could always get from Alden. Those are the two that Horween, they don't put a cap on it. You don't need any sort of special favors or invitations to get in on color 8, which is mahogany or black. You could walk into any Alden shop at any time and get a black or a color 8, um, Capto, Oxford, whatever. But to get something like this, which seems like a pretty basic color, but actually this is a rare color. And so are these. Um, this is called garnet shell, also known as color 4. Extremely hard to get your hands on something like this. I've been in the boot game over 10 years, and Grant Stone finally ran some garnet shell, and I bought all 3 models because the chances of getting the opportunity to get those boots are so rare. Basically, what you have to do to get on a see to get the rare shell, you have to get on a list with some of these Alden shops, and you have to cozy up to the owner. You have to basically make friends, and then they'll email you special invitations to get in on a rare shell color like this, like color 4, color 2, natural, uh, tobacco, Ravello. All these shell colors, you can't just go in and buy. You have to first have that relationship, and you have to have bought several pairs from the shop owner themselves. And it's just this big rigmarole. It's this big, complicated, uh, sort of task to undertake you have to be loyal to basically one shop. They have to know you. It's a very exclusive sort of thing. Kind of like they call it the Shell Illuminati because it's almost like a secret society. And I still haven't fully cracked it. You know what I mean? My buddy Matt at Aldwin of Raleigh, he reached out to me and offered me to get in on some color 4, which is this. Color 4 is garnet. Some Alden Captos in color 4. And he just said, look, I want to extend you this invitation because I watch your channel. That's the only reason I got in on those. Like literally, he offers, it's not just him, but all the Alden shop owners, they only offer rare shell to their most, dedicated patrons. And so for that reason, if I were you, I would get in on the Maduro because those, Crockett and Jones Chelsea's and rough out that you're saying, you could really get those
yeah,
any day
yep.
at any time. And so this is a little bit more of a hefty price tag, but the rarity of them and the exclusivity of getting a build like this, the opportunity doesn't come around very often. And so that's why I would just say, spending a little extra money, get those. That said, British shoemaking is absolutely incredible. These are my trickers, and
I love
yeah,
those.
trickers stow in calfskin, and man, there is nothing like UK workmanship. I mean, well, Americans do a close job, but the British, they do really beautiful work,
Yeah.
especially on their tips. I think, in my opinion, the British do the best wingtips, whether we're talking Trickers, Loke, Crockett and Jones, Sanders, Alfred Sargent, all that stuff, all those brands based in the UK just do phenomenal work. So yeah, that would be my advice. It's not I don't see a rare shell like this as a purchase even at the point that I'm at. I just see it as an opportunity. And do you want the opportunity?
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not one of those things where, oh, I have a lot of money, I could just get whatever I want. Like, no, sometimes you actually need to
Yeah.
be in the right place at the right time to
Yeah.
get this stuff.
Well, and I also love that brass boot style. That's my
Yeah,
that's it's, I'd say the diesel boots, it's kind of their thing. They sell a ton more diesel boots. I love that brass boot. And frankly,
yeah,
that if I were gonna buy that, and it's kind of what I contemplated too. It's like that versus the Alden Indy. And I like that one better. I just think you get that kind
yeah,
of that look, but again, you get the rarity. I'm just kind of really high on Grant Stone right now because of guys like, dude, I tell you, what your buddy Wyatt has done over there. I mean,
yeah,
every one of you guys that really are serious about the boot game, everyone speaks so highly of Grant Stone. I mean, universal, and
mhm,
there's one premium boot maker. Truman's up there too, but still, I guarantee you, you might not hear somebody say something about Truman, but Grant Stone's gonna come up. So I'm like, okay, these
yeah,
guys, and I hope he keeps doing it because what's gonna happen, I see, and again, this is I am one of those old school MBAs that tries to this kind of got his head about him that tries to live a smaller style life. But if private equity ever starts jumping into this game, they're going to start scooping up, just like what Swatch brand did with a lot of the cool watches. I'm a watch guy too.
oh,
They're,
cool.
they're going to try to scoop up, these companies. So I'm like, I think that, right now is the time. Again, you kind of convinced me. And as I'm just kind of thinking out loud, I'm like, also, I don't know you never know what your plans are as an entrepreneur. If depending on what stage of life you're in, what the dollar signs are, there may come a time though when you're buying a pair of Grant Stones made by the same private equity company that owns Alden or whomever or whatever, fill in the blank. And so, to me,
That's so
like
true.
it's kind of nice to be able to still deal with the original heritage of it.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, Wyatt, he didn't come to making boots in China as a ploy or as a scheme. He organically knew the people, fell in love with the culture. His kids are both half Chinese. Like, he's not just doing this for
Yeah.
money. He does it because he loves it. And everybody on the team, they're on the team because they love it. They don't have plan. They're not just doing it as a day job. They're actually passionate about what they do. So, and actually, I was going to ask you. You mentioned watches. What's your watch game like? Because before I got into good boots, and part of the reason why I can justify these purchases on, $700-800, $500 on a pair of boots is because before I got into boots, I was into watches, same
I like that
reasons why I got,
Panerai. I like that Panerai you got on there.
oh, thank you so much. Yeah. I just made this shell cord of a NATO strap for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So,
have to order a NATO strap from you. I saw you're doing those now. I'm gonna have to order one of those next.
oh, well, hey, I got some. For having me on this podcast, if you want me to build you one, I'll send you one over. So,
I wanna be a paying customer, brother. You're welcome here anytime. But anyway,
oh
no,
man, thank you.
go ahead with the watch question, man. I love talking watches.
Yeah, yeah. So what got me into watches was, obviously Daniel Craig, Casino
Oh, yeah.
Royale, the
Yep.
the Planet Ocean, the Omega Planet Ocean. He was the first Bond to wear Omega, first one to depart from Rolex. That was where I sort of got into Omega, and then from there it led me to Panerai, and then I stopped at five good ones. But what's your watch journey like?
So, I grew up just for some reason loving watches, and my first real big watch purchase happened when I was, like, in the ninth grade, and I went
Hmm.
to Sam's Club and bought a Seiko all gold chronograph. So, it was nothing nice, but to me, that thing was so I was already fascinated by the chronograph, which draws everybody. Everybody loves a chronograph. No one knows how to read them, no one uses them, but everybody loves the chronograph. That's why everybody makes a chronograph, right? So
Yeah.
so it started when I was really young. I mean, and then as I was in junior high, high school, whatever, I collected swatches, Coca-Cola watches for a time. And then my first really nice watch, well, my first really nice watch, I guess, was a Rolex Submariner,
Ooh,
16610 that it was a 95 model. I bought secondhand on eBay for like 2,600 bucks.
wow.
That to me was like, uh, it was one of those, I guess it was Marie Kondo that has the Spark Joy type deal. That was the first watch I had that whether I wore it or not, when I opened the drawer, I was like, "God, I can't believe I have one of these." And I was
Yes.
really excited about it. And then from there, what really took me to the next level, kind of where I am right now with these boots, what took me to the next level of collecting is I was one of the very, very early advisors to a company called Crown and Caliber, which is now owned
Oh,
by Hodinkee. Okay. And
okay.
yeah, my buddy Hamilton Powell, he was introduced to me by one of my closest friends in the world, a guy named Cullen Barbado. He was the COO there, and he said, "Hey, we need a sales team. I know you love watches. Would you visit with Hamilton?" Hamilton was when he started Crown and Caliber, he was a big watch collector, loved, I mean, and that's where my education began. Whenever I started advising Crown and Caliber, dude, I didn't know. It's kinda like this. There was a whole world of watches that I didn't know existed because I was like everybody else. I knew Rolex, I knew Omega, and then everything that falls under that. And then, of course, I mean, heard of Patek and knew about Patek. It's kinda like what I thought at the time was like the grail watch for everybody. If you can own a Patek, 'cause you don't buy it for you buy it to give it to you're the steward of it or whatever their great marketing deal is.
Heirloom.
And yeah, it's an heirloom, and so that's whenever I bought my first JLC Reserve de Marche, which was my favorite watch at the time. It's a beautiful, perfect size, like a 38 millimeter, and then I had an Octavia, which was the predecessor to Tag. It was an old racing chronograph. It was beautiful, and just kinda started there, man. Now, here's something that is gonna really make you go, "Jason, are you kidding me?" So I went through this phase of just minimalism and it's all just stuff and I don't want stuff anymore. And my wife is still
Yeah.
angry about this. I sold my entire watch collection.
Oh,
One,
wow.
I have my great grandfather's Rolex, Datejust, and that's the only one I kept. But now I'm probably going to, my wife and I have an anniversary coming up and she wants to buy me a nice watch for our anniversary. So I'm slowly getting back in the game. But a good friend of mine, it's funny, we were just he's kind of into watches, and I just saw we were at an event together, and I looked at his wrist, and he has a new AP Royal Oak, and
Ooh.
I'm like and he didn't think anybody else would notice. I was probably the only person in the room that would notice that, and I'm like,
Yeah,
You got some new wrist candy there?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." I said he showed it to me, I was like, "Oh my gosh, dude," and it's so beautiful. It's navy blue face. But anyway, so it's something, dude, I can't explain it. I've always loved clothes, watches. Um, back whenever I used to have to dress up for work, dude, I'd have like 300 ties. Now, I've always found those, and I think that as I've gotten older, I enjoy things that are made by hand, that have a heritage, that have a story behind them, that are built to last forever. And
yes.
so that's kind of it. And so, yeah, the watch thing is something that I don't think I'll ever be able to shake completely. I
No,
and
you
it's
could try, but
you can try, but and I'll tell you what's fun. So, I really like in the watch niche, Teddy Baltazar. I don't know if you check out any of his content, but
yeah,
Teddy is doing some amazing things. He is bringing, and the thing I love about what Teddy is doing is he will highlight brands that people can actually afford. You know, he
true.
he will talk about a watch like an old Bulova or something like or not old, but a Bulova that somebody can actually is actually attainable and tell the story behind it and the heritage and make you go, it is okay to wear a Bulova. I don't have to wait till I can get a Rolex sub or something like that. And so anyway,
Definitely.
so that's so
Cool.
tell me, okay, so you said you have 5. Tell me what your collection looks like.
Yeah, I have 5 good ones, and I stopped at in 2014. I'm like, I just can't continue. You know, five I think is too much. I think a good watch rotation, and those watching might think I'm a huge hypocrite because of how many boots I have. I think a good watch rotation is three good ones. I think that's all you need, or one, you know. But to have a big watch rotation is very expensive, and you're not going to give them the love that they truly deserve. So yeah, my first one, I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I stumbled into a Tourneau shop in Waikiki. It was 2 blocks from my apartment, and I just saw one that I liked. It was an Omega Speedmaster, and it was pre-owned, and it was $1,800. And I'm like, didn't know what I was doing. And I said, if you knock 10% off that, I'll take it. And they went back in the room and negotiated. And the guy came out. They said, oh, okay. You know what you're getting here though, right? And I said, oh yeah, I know. And I had no clue. But then when I went and looked up how much the original sticker tag on it, it's like 3,500 at the time.
And
I
now
thought real
twice that at least.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Ever since 2012, when the Swiss franc went up by 25%, all the Swiss watches went up with it.
Yep.
And so I haven't bought a new watch since then. Um, or well, my wife gifted me one, but yeah. But yeah, so Omega Speedmaster, that was my first. Then I bought the Omega Planet Ocean. Then after I left Hawaii, uh, I was at a Jared randomly one day, and they had this end of season sale. They had all these $100 vouchers that they didn't. I forget the story, but they basically let me use it on a bunch of these unused vouchers on a Tag Heuer. I still don't know how to say it. It was a Tag Carrera
Yeah.
with a cream face. Yeah. Caliber 17, I think. Anyway, so I got that. So that was my third. And then as a pre-wedding gift, my wife got me this Panerai.
Yeah.
And that was really special. And what I love about the Panerai is that you can accessorize and swap out the
Oh,
NATO straps.
exactly.
So yeah. And then when I graduated and got my master's degree back in 2014, my wife gifted me an Omega. It's called an NZL 32, basically the regatta watch. It's got like 5 little circles on it that it goes from gray to blue to red to indicate the different phases of the regatta.
Yeah.
5-minute phases. And so that's my whole rotation. It's nothing crazy. I really lust after the APs. But I decided, I need to be responsible. I need to stop buying watches. So I just haven't moved on since then. But yeah, these NATO straps, I just made these last week. And this is part of my entrepreneurial journey that I'm really proud of because, my wife got me this as a wedding gift, essentially. And I still honor her by working with my hands and honor God. And, and I'm now creating things. Not to get off topic, but I was in the Bible Museum a few months back, and there was a quote that really resonated with me. It said, um, it was something to the effect of, make things with your hands, make garments with your hands because God is interested in these things. And I thought, that's exactly what somebody like me needs to hear, because God wants us to create, and he wants us to create masterpieces because he created us. We're in his image. He created a masterpiece. So he wants us to continue to create things, masterpieces like he created. And so, bringing it full circle, I think that it was sort of a calling from God to start making things with my hands and to share those with other people. And in doing so, and being able to make my own NATO straps for myself, I'm sort of honoring my wife by this investment that she made in me a long time ago. And it's just all sort of symbiotic. It sort of all feeds off of each other, so many moving parts, but like you said, God puts us in places at certain times to do certain things. And I think we need to seize on those opportunities. So yeah. And watches are, they're such intricate works of art, so complicated, but people figured out, in a workshop, how to make the spring that powers an automatic watch and how to calibrate it just perfectly to keep in step with every second of the day. It's miraculous in a lot of ways. And so that's kind of how I see a lot of this stuff is they're miracles. What and I think that if we appreciate them and we invest in them and we also can make some stuff ourselves, we're just honoring God's design by doing that. And conversely, if I were just to buy a bunch of cheap crap, kick it around, not care where it's made, not care who made it, not care about the materials where they were sourced, the ethicality involved in the making it. Did some poor 10-year-old Chinese kid force, were they forced to make this, or was this a well-paid person? These are all things that I like to take into consideration when making a purchase, because I want to not just, it's not rooted in materialism, as materialistic as it may appear. It's not rooted in that at all. It's rooted in my desire to honor old time workmanship and high level artisan creations. And so that's kind of where it all stems from, and that's kind of why I make stuff without a leather now. So it's just sort of to bring it all together in a
I
sense.
I
So,
to I totally get all that, man, and I think that we are God's workmanship. I mean, that's
mhm.
what the word says, and so I think it reminds me, dude, so, I don't know how much time you may or may not have spent over in Europe, but, you go look at these amazing, cathedrals and the buildings.
Yeah,
And there was a time when people were so much more artistic in, like you say, every single thing they did. Like, Jim and I
yeah.
had the opportunity to do, a really nice European trip last year, and we went to the glass factories in Burano, for example, and looking at these
Wow.
unbelievable light fixtures that are hand blown and made. And then you stand, like, in the clock making, which, by the way, I don't know, how much you like to read, but I'm a voracious reader, and there's a great book called The Discoverers, and essentially, it begins with time, how they started, keeping measurements of time. And so it kind of evolves all the way to this. And one of the things that they talk about is how it used to be like a big deal to have a clock in the center of a village or whatever. And one of the ones mentioned was the one in St. Mark's Square in Venice. And I stood and looked at that clock, and dude, it's unbelievable. And that was one of the very
Wow.
ones. And that's why people would gather at the town square to see what time it was. Everything kind of centered around so it is a big deal. And
Yeah.
and there was a time when buildings reflected quality and craftsmanship and beauty, and there was something deeper than just the utility value of it, right? It wasn't just, "Is this useful or not?" It was, "Is it useful? Is it beautiful? And is it a reflection of the divinity that resides in all of us and that we are to be reflective of?" So, dude,
Wow.
you're talking my language, I totally get it. And here's the thing too that I would tell people, this whole idea, and I used to be bad about this. I used to, and Gemlin and I still are kinda like this when it comes to, like, if I find something I like, then, like, that's one of the things I had to really, really stop on with Grant Stone. When I discovered Grant Stone, I was like, "Okay." I mean, I wanted to buy 3 pair at one time. It's real hard for me to not wanna do that.
Yeah.
But I stopped myself because I want to have fewer things, but the things I have are really quality. And when you do that, I know this sounds stupid, and some people are gonna think this thing makes no sense, Jason. We're used to talking about health, wellness, and come on, get to the gut health portion of the program or
Yeah.
something like that. But there is something about putting on a garment that you do know is high quality, that no one knows what brand it is. They have no idea.
Mhm.
By looking at it, they may not know that it was, and I think this is kind of the idea of stepping out of the matrix too. They may
Yeah.
not, whether it came from H&M or it was handmade by some little niche shop that you found on the other side of the world. They have no clue, but
Mhm.
know, you know where it
Yeah.
comes from, and the garment is for you, not for the matrix to approve of. And so
Yeah.
therefore, when you start to kinda have that greater vision of the things you put on your body, the things that you have, and these things that basically will rust and be stolen, and you just put them in their proper place, then it does make a difference. And I think that might be one of the reasons
Yeah.
why, as I started learning more about the heritage boots and stuff, it just resonated with me. And then I think I started this thought, I'm not sure if I finished it earlier on in the conversation, but the thing I love about Truman, Grant Stone, what you're doing is these companies are starting and they're not supposed to. You're not supposed to be able to make handcrafted quality items in America, or your everything has to be mass produced. Everything, nothing, it has to be lower quality. You can't start a business like this. And these guys are saying, yeah, watch us do it.
Yeah.
We care enough,
Right.
or even will, what he's
Mhm.
doing, was it Camel City Mill? Is that
Yeah.
his brand?
Camel City Mill. Yeah. Socks. Yeah.
I bought some of his socks to support him. I'm like,
Cool.
that's you can do this. And
Mhm.
I don't know, there's something to that. Everybody always kind of pisses and moans about, the good old days of now you can't have American made businesses, but you've got niches like this where you guys are saying, yeah, you can. And again,
Yeah.
went back to, Wyatt and Grant Stone. Yeah, it might be manufactured there, but there's a heritage that makes it make sense. And look, it's an American company, and
Yeah.
it's adhering to certain standards that we all would like to have. I don't know, man. I was just
Right.
That's why the whole thing
Yeah.
me, dude.
Absolutely. Amen to all of that, brother. I mean, you just sparked up a whole bunch of epiphanies in my head, actually. Um, so part of, I think, what it is with heritage things and well-made things in general is that you're honoring yourself. You know, you were given this gift of life, this lifetime. Don't waste it. Get stuff that you honor yourself with, because in doing so, you're honoring the higher power. There's this concept in Japan. It's called shibui. Shout out to my friend Matt, who runs the Instagram account Shibui. He hasn't posted in a while, but the concept of shibui is to have things that are sort of timeless and clean and very well built. I just bought a bunch of gear, leatherworking equipment from Artisan Leather Craft Goods, I believe they're called. And everything is just, I mean, it's not factory made. This is a brass nipper. Everything that I saw there, this here's a strap cutter, an old time strap cutter. Everything that they sell is timeless. And once again, getting into timeless garments, all these tools that you see here are timeless. These are or yeah, this is a leather edge marker. You use this to score the edge for stitching. But everything here is just, it's handmade, it's high quality materials, and compare it to this plastic junk. This was $10 on Amazon. You know what I mean? This is I mean, you see it. You see the cheapness in it. It was just mass produced to serve a cheap function. Whereas this I could hand down to my grandkids if they want to work with leather, And so yeah, that concept of shibui basically is all about just surrounding yourself with things that are timeless, that are durable, that are beautiful, like you said, and like you were talking about the buildings. Yes, we've seen this across the world, cultural decline in the beauty of buildings, and it takes away from the human experience when you stop honoring God and you start just building utilitarian, cheap, big ugly skyscrapers. It's like, yeah, we've lost a lot of that culture. I listen to a lot of Paul Joseph Watson. He talks about the decline in art as well. Art, the quality of art is just crap now. There was an exhibit in a recent museum that he talked about that they just threw a bunch of garbage into a pile and talked that off as art. It's like, that's not art. Hey, come
Yes.
on.
Yep.
Art is Van Gogh. Where are we going with our culture right now? And so, yeah, I think in a way and Jordan Peterson talks about this, clean your room. If you can't clean your room, take one small section of your house and make it as nice as you possibly can.
Yep.
It's that same concept. Strive for the best, and do it with everything. Like my keychain, I don't have it on me now, but it's not a cheap one. I got it from this company. What's it called? The name escapes me now, but it's actually, if you don't mind, I could just run and grab it with you.
Yeah.
But I extend that same concept to even my everyday carry keychain. Oh yeah, right here. Pardon my messy house, but yeah, this is definitely relevant to what we're talking about here. Um, so yeah, it's called quarter leather. porter leather, and everything that I carry. So
Oh, that's
this,
so cool.
yeah, this dangles just from your belt loop on your pants, so you don't have to put your keys in your
Yeah,
pocket.
yeah.
And I got a little knife here,
Oh, I
Wesson
love that.
blade.
Who makes that? I love that thing.
Oh, thank you. It's Wesson.
Oh, that's
It's a
very
Wesson blade.
okay.
Yeah, and then just everything I have on here is raw brass. This is an EDC flashlight.
Yeah.
Um, I got a brass compass here. Just but sort of what we're talking about, like everything I'm gonna carry on my body is gonna be timeless. It's gonna invoke that concept of shabui. Like everything here, this is a little pill case. Like not even my pill case is plastic. I want everything that I carry to be the best that it possibly can be. And you start with one thing like boots or watches, and then you extend that to your keychain.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
even the loops, even these key rings are quarter leather, high grade steel. And so yeah, just everything in this is, I try to be intentional and purposeful with everything I put in my body and everything that I wear on my body as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I'm with you, man. And it just it makes such a difference. Now talking about the body, so you're into health and wellness like I am. We gotta
Yeah.
talk a bit about that. So kind of what
Yes.
is your routine for like, your training? What are you putting in your
Mhm.
body? Kind of where are you with that? Because that's stuff I love to geek out on as well.
Yeah, yeah, health, that was my first rude awakening. This goes back to when I was, 15 years old. It came down to just one simple day where instead of buying a Powerade at the high school cafeteria, I bought a Dasani and just drank water that day, and I felt so clean.
Right.
I felt pure on the inside.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I realized that something's wrong with our food and our diets.
Yep.
The standard American diet, abbreviated SAD, because that's essentially what it is. It's very sad. And then fast forward, I remember I was walking around in Monterey. In the military. I attended the Defense Language Institute there. I was walking around downtown Monterey, and I walked into a Jamba Juice, and I was talking to my sister on the phone. And she's like, and I said, "Oh, weird. They sell this stuff called wheatgrass. Do you know what that is?" She's like, "Oh yeah, wheatgrass. Yeah, it's grass, and it purifies your skin, and it's high in chlorophyll and all this stuff." And I thought, "Oh, I'm going to try some." And I took a double shot of wheatgrass, and oh man, it felt so good for the next few days. Anyways, I could get into tons of little examples like that, but health was always it was always the reason why I never trusted the system, if you will. That was my first truth or movement was in health. And then that led me to finding David Avocado along the journey. And that guy, man, I don't know if you listen to him,
No, I had never
but okay, he's probably my main health guru.
okay.
He really helped me get through the pandemic and that stuff too.
Yeah.
But David Avocado, he's really big on chocolate, cacao.
Yep.
To the point to where he has a relationship with cacao, like a spiritual tie to it. And he recently said this about chocolate, because chocolate is so healthy. One thing that I think all centenarians have in common is they all eat chocolate. It's
Mhm.
people that live into their hundreds. They eat chocolate every day.
I eat a ton of very dark, high quality chocolate. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah. David Avocado said recently, and this is just his conclusion after a lifetime of chocolate. He said, it's a mineral supplement. And I thought that's an interesting way to conceptualize it. Is it's a mineral supplement, because I eat it every day as well. And sometimes I watch some of these podcasters. They talk about magnesium. We're all deficient in magnesium. Well, cacao has therapeutic amounts of magnesium in it, and so I started taking magnesium. I'm like, I don't notice a difference at all. And come to find out, I'm already getting a ton of magnesium through cacao. So not to mention, this is all part of God's design. David Avocado talks about the color code of food, and the color of the food tells you what it's going to do for your body. So, for example, and I'm talking about natural food, by the way, not synthetic dyes, but
Now talking about a bag of Skittles is going to tell you each different color will do something different. Each color of the rainbow is going to do something different, right? No,
right.
we're not doing that. Okay, I'm with you.
Exactly. So green, the pigment green, for example, the color tells you what it's gonna do. So green cleans, right? That makes sense. It's gonna clean you out. Leaves. Um, Orange is immune system. It's gonna help your immune system. Think oranges, vitamin C, goji berries, whatever. Yellow is tissue building, and that makes sense because our skin is yellow, and yellow foods help build tissue. Purple is nervous system support, which is interesting because chocolate has three pigments in it. It's got purple, brown, and black. The purple's nervous system. The black is longevity, right? Think again about the centenarians. Black foods lead to longevity. So, activated charcoal, drinking that, it helps clean out toxins out of your system. Um, the brown makes you go to the bathrooms.
Mhm.
So think coffee, brown chocolate. Let's see, what other pigments did I miss? Red is blood building. Um, but yeah, so I do believe in God's design, and I think when you break foods down into that sort of concept of the color of the food tells you, the pigment of the food tells you essentially what it's going to do for your body. Of course, this gets in, super complicated, but keeping health simple is sometimes the easiest way. And I think when you think about these different colors, uh, and how they're represented, and how nature tells you what it's going to do to you if you ingest these things, it's really a good tool to have in your toolkit. So yeah, so that's why I'm huge on chocolate. My wife asked me the other day, what's one food, if you could eat one food for your whole life, what would you choose? And for me, it was cacao. For her, it was what was it? It was cabbage. I'm like, cabbage?
That is right. I think I'm more of the Dale train on that one. I
Yes,
I gotta have my cacao, and yeah, dude, it
definitely.
and I think the antioxidants that it has, I feel like it's good for your skin. It's just
Yeah,
there are so many benefits to that, and you're right, man.
yeah,
That's one thing, like I was talking about Gus Vickery, and this audience is well familiar with Dr. Gus, is that, we have a whole protocol that he's described to me that is based on detoxifying. And I'm actually about to go through this program with him. I just started it, getting my gut biome and everything checked, and he just got back from France, so we're gonna be going through my results pretty soon. But I turned
cool.
59 in February, and so we're gonna start this whole program to keep me biologically under 50 for as long as possible. Now for the people that are listening, yes, I know all those biological clocks are kind of goofy, they're not all that, but we're gonna do all the things to monitor my blood at the cellular level, my gut biome, to make sure that we're gonna use, uh, bioregulatory peptides. We're gonna do all these things to make sure that I'm literally hitting on all cylinders to maintain longevity, just as a way to it's kinda like what we wanna do. Are you familiar with Brian Johnson, the Blueprint guy? Okay.
No, no.
Okay. So Brian Johnson, he's basically I think he was one of the co-founders of maybe if not Venmo, one of those. So he made a ton of money, right? He's a multi-millionaire tech guy. And so he's spending millions on slowing or reversing his age. And a lot of people knock him or whatever.
Oh,
You've
I
probably
know him.
seen him. Yeah, I mean, he's
I know who he is.
everywhere, okay?
Yes.
And so one of the things I don't knock the guy. I would never do all the things he's doing because I don't think I mean, I would hate to live like that. But secondly,
Yeah.
what he's doing, he's kinda like Elon Musk. He's taking moonshots, that little fragments of the journey there we can learn from. So I commend him for doing that. What Gus and I wanna do is try to create protocols and therapeutics that everybody can do, that you don't have to spend millions of dollars like Brian Johnson is spending. I think he's at 3 million bucks right now, and all the different protocols he's doing. Gus and I want to create things that everybody can do. And so when you talk about like detoxification, that's one of Gus's biggest ones. Where he starts is to like when he does everybody's blood work and their gut biome, he's like, the first thing I'm looking at is the level of toxicity in your body. And then one of my Ailey Cohen, she's a physician in Parsippany, New Jersey. She wrote the book Non-Toxic: Living Healthy in a Chemical World, something like that. I think I just totally botched. I'm looking for the book on my shelf. Totally botched that title, but she's got a new book coming out. She's coming back on the show later this year, and that's what she's built her whole
Cool.
practice around, is helping people deal with the toxic environment that we live in. And because the thing is, Dell, man, and I say this all the time, the 10-cent calorie was a mark
Yeah.
to feed people. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. but cheap food in high quantity can start at some point to have a regressive impact. And I think that's what we've seen. We have no shortage of calories, but we have a huge deficit of nutrients in our food. And we
Yeah.
certainly have an overabundance of toxins. And it's, Roundup on our in our yards and the fertilizers that we walk. I mean, all this,
Yeah.
if you just look, and folks, you can do this. I know you've heard me say this before on the show, folks, but you can go and look at your city's toxins rating or its arsenic ratings for your tap water, for your just your public water. And when you look at what is allowed in our water, dude, it'll make you go, oh, I'm never drinking tap water again. I'm getting that right. I'm gonna go ahead and blow my money on that reverse osmosis system and clean up my water. So
Absolutely.
I get it, man. I get that's
Yes.
and good for you for taking that stance. Now, what about your training? I know you're outdoors a lot. You do some really cool hiking. I've
Yeah.
seen that. You do really
Oh,
cool
yeah.
hiking in really cool boots. I know that.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So my training, it's actually, um, I keep it local. I don't go to a gym. I do push-ups, and most of my training, I sit on my recumbent bike in the room next to you, and I just sit for an hour and just sweat. I just fat burn. Um, I'm not super right now. I'm trying to do a lot of intermittent fasting because I have gained probably 15 pounds that I don't want. So I'm trying to shrink back down, and we could talk about fasting too. The benefits of that, it's just unreal.
Yep.
But yeah, so my training, I probably do 2 hours a week on the bike and just sweat, low impact. I'm just trying to burn fat. And it really cleans me out too. I just feel like born again the next day. In addition to that, I do a lot of the what is it? The table, the upside down table,
Mhm.
uh, inversion table. I do that once a week, probably for 10 minutes. Just get upside down, get inverted, because that is the ultimate goal of yogis, is to be able to get upside down perfectly upside down. And now there's a contraption that you can just buy on Amazon for $90 that can deliver that same effect. I find that it's not as helpful for my spine as it is for my brain. What's happening is I'm upside down, and all the blood's coming to my head, and it's expanding those capillaries out, and it really oxygenates the mind and really helps thinking. Um, really makes my thoughts clear. Similar effect that I get with cacao, similar effect that I get with nicotine.
Oh,
I am
that's
on
not
nicotine. Yeah.
yeah, but
I don't smoke. It's
yeah, but nicotine
lozenges.
is a great, nootropic. It's like
Yes.
yeah, like Ben Greenfield, he will take I think Ben Greenfield will actually wear a nicotine patch occasionally. I think Peter Attia has talked about how, nicotine is actually a very, very for neuro, performance, it's one of the best there
Yeah.
is.
It's used actually, Nickett Stridewise. I'm so happy that you brought this up. Nickett Stridewise, before he had the boot channel, he was writing articles for Vice. Now, I have my opinions on Vice, but
Right.
he wrote an article, "The Four Surprising Benefits to Nicotine," and he started it. Of course, smoking's bad for you, of course. And this takes me back to 2010. I was sitting at the Baltimore Harbor with one of my friends who he was a Mormon, going to medical school at the time, becoming a doctor. And I got into this mini debate with him because I was never a smoker, but I said, there's got to be something to nicotine.
Mhm.
There's got to be some benefit to it that's been sort of, we've thrown out the baby with the bathwater water with nicotine. And he's like, yeah, but the health risks outweigh. And he's giving like the standard uh, medical industry response. I could never get over it. Like, I couldn't even have the discussion with him. Is there benefit to nicotine? And then I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Artis or
Mhm.
not. Dr. Artis. Okay. Well, he started talking about, I don't want to say the word. Let's call it a mysterious virus of unknown origins. I got infected with that, and my taste just wasn't coming back. I had the long symptoms, you might say, from being infected, and also I'm not. Well, I didn't. I don't know where you're at with this, but I didn't take the experimental
Yep,
experimental
with you.
gene editing.
I'm with
Okay,
you, brother.
awesome, awesome. Thank God for that. Uh, so I didn't take the experimental gene editing technology. I'll call it. Um, And so, but I was dealing with the long symptoms. My taste wasn't coming back after recovering. And then I heard Dr. Artist talk about, you know, just 2 milligrams of nicotine a day for a week will completely erase all symptoms from that. And so I started it, and I'm telling you, I chewed one piece of gum, 2 milligrams, and immediately my taste was back. Immediately. And
Really?
part of the reason, yeah, yeah, part of the reason is nicotine is, well, it's an anti-venom in a lot of respects. And essentially how it works is your brain gets clogged up with spike protein when you're infected, or let's say if you take an injection of certain types, and it loads your brain's uh, nicotinic acetylcholine receptors with spike protein. That's what blocks your sensory abilities with taste and smell. When you introduce nicotine into the system, your brain immediately, it likes nicotine more than spike protein. Your brain immediately releases the spike and clings to the nicotine. And so that's why immediately my taste came back. Now, I found out that I actually quite like nicotine, so I continued on with it. This brand is called Lucy nicotine lozenges.
That's what my dad uses. He always has one of
Really
those old blue, yeah, capsule or
awesome.
in his pocket. Yep, that's what he uses.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just find that I'm in a good mood. I can think better. It's like an augmented form of coffee in a lot of senses, in a lot of ways. So, and yeah, not to mention Nick at Stridewise, bring it back to Nick. He was writing that they use nicotine to treat Alzheimer's. Basically, you could treat it, for neurodegenerative problems and things like that. So, so yeah, the only downside that I'll say about nicotine that I've found, and Dr. Artist says there's no diseases directly linked solely to nicotine. Um, the only downside it is a vasoconstrictor. So make sure you're still doing gentle cardio while you're on it, because it can act as a vasoconstrictor. And to counteract that, I do NAC every day. This
Yep.
is a vasodilator. So
Yep.
I'm sure you're familiar with NAC.
Yep.
So I take that every day, and that sort of just it thins out my blood a little bit, helps with my circulation. The ill effects of nicotine. But
NA
that's really it.
NAC, one of the biggest benefits of NAC that you'll love too is it helps increase your glutathione production, which it is so, and that would be one thing too I think you'd really dig. So
Yes.
Dr. Nayan Patel, who's been on the show, he's actually coming back on. He is the creator or the inventor, for I guess you will, of topical glutathione. Because see, glutathione, if you take it, if you supplement it orally, your liver's just gonna wash it out. You're not gonna get the benefit. And then some people get shots of glutathione, but Nayan Patel developed a topical solution, and so Aura Health is where I get that, and you can actually get it from Authentic Health too. Gus sells it out of his clinic, but he developed, like, he's got clients like Tom Brady. Tom Brady's dad is who he developed Glutarol Max, which is like the super potent glutathione supplement. But
Cool.
NAC is great for you to increase, which is glutathione is our body's master antioxidant. So it's of all the things that are going to help us recover quicker from workouts, keep our immune system strong, you got to keep those glutathione counts up. And if you're younger, if you're like in your early 20s or whatever, your body's probably producing enough glutathione. But when you get older, like I am, you probably can use some supplementation. And NAC, that's one of the things I take NAC every day. That's one of mine. That's in my basic stack as well for all the reasons. Both exactly what you're mentioning there is the increase in blood flow as well as the
Yeah.
ion production.
Definitely, definitely. And it also says something on here about supports liver health.
Yep.
I do occasionally enjoy the bourbon, so I'm big on that too. Yeah,
Yep.
and immune system support. Another big one that I love to take is this stuff, NAD. They call it
Yep.
the fountain of youth.
Of course.
Um,
Yep.
yes, yes. Do you take that as well, or
So I have taken NAD in the past. It's not in my basic stack now.
okay?
It's not
Yeah.
not for any reason other than it's just not included. But because my
Okay.
protocol is basically Dr. Gus kind of, I just follow his protocol. But I have taken NAD.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I find that it truly is. Um, Sort of miraculous. I too don't take it every day, but essentially what NAD is is it puts your body in a state when you're in a deep fast. NAD is a natural sirtuin activator. So when you're in a deep fast, your body releases sirtuins, and so this helps you create sirtuins when you're not fasting, essentially, and it could increase telomerase activity to protect DNA. Telomeres, that's the whole thing. Epigenetics, that's a whole thing. But yeah, I do consistently take NAD. Dr. David Sinclair was on Joe Rogan. He basically developed this. This is basically you remember resveratrol,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The
Yep.
compound in red wine. This is basically a better version than resveratrol. Resveratrol has a ton of health benefits, but this is even better than that. And you don't even have to take as much uh, because it is just so refined. And so, yeah, so I'm big on NAD. I'm big on epigenetics as well. That whole field of, you have your genes as they're written, the code, God's great design, his grand design, but then it's up to you how you um, steer that code, drive that code, and your body. Every time you stand, every time you sit, everything you eat, how long you sleep. These all of these affect your epigenetics, and so this idea that you're doomed to suffer your mother's disease or whatever is not true. You could dramatically alter the trajectory of your health through your life just by living healthily. And so epigenetics, that's the big one that I'm big on. I'm standing right now, I believe. I believe in keeping my body active, using my whole body, and honoring what I put into it, as well as honoring what I wear on the outside. So
Yeah, it's funny you say that you're standing. So, Ben Greenfield now, he does most of his podcasts on his I've got on the other side of my desk, I've got one of those little mini treadmills that I usually stand on when I'm working. And
cool.
my buddy James Quandal and I always talk about like, hey, Ben's on his treadmill during his podcast. So if and I've thought about doing it, but I would be breathing a little bit if I were on it. And so otherwise,
Yeah.
you got to keep moving. And
Yeah.
I want to recommend, okay, to toot my own horn, not toot my own horn, but to give you some episodes I think you'd like. Listen to both of my episodes with Joel Green. So Joel Green is the author of the Immunity Code, and so
Okay.
that's whenever I was taking NAD, because basically the Immunity Code, it will give you, it is a how to manual on how to reconfigure your guts biome. And Joel is a mad
Okay.
scientist. He's so awesome. And so those are two great episodes. There was another one you made me think of too. Oh, so I had Matt Camberline on, who used to be David Sinclair's lab partner. Now they've kind of, and
Whoa.
so so Matt, he's good friends with Peter Attia. That's where I first heard him, and then I got him on the show. He is wicked smart, and his deal is he is an expert on rapamycin and the benefits of that.
Uh,
He takes rapamycin. Rapamycin as well as metformin are the two kind of, are these good because there's obviously some downsides, but basically Matt argues that the benefits of rapamycin are so minute in a healthy person that he highly recommends. It's easy. He said that's a no-brainer. So I think you'd really love that episode as well. And so
awesome.
yeah, and there was one other that I had on that you would, that just it kinda hits in that wheelhouse. Of course, well, Marvin Singh, I've had him on a couple times. He wrote, Rescue Your Health, and he's all about, he's out in, on the West Coast. I think Martin is in LA or somewhere. Had him on, and he talked a lot about, he's probably the first guy I had on really talking about gut health and the gut biome. And then, of course, I think,
Okay.
and I'll try to, I need to catalog these. So Gus and I did an entire series of foundational health, starting with the gut and working toward all. I mean, he takes you literally through the protocol that he leads his patients through, starting with the gut health and then going all the way through detoxifying and all this stuff. You would totally dig. So I'll catalog those episodes and email them to you. And then also,
Cool.
and then he's got he and I put together an ebook on body comp that I think I'll send you all that stuff just for you to geek out on. If you use what you want to and throw away the rest, but I think you'd totally dig it. And that's what I love to do. I love sharing that stuff with folks because once you
Yeah.
start to realize, like you're talking about with epigenetics, when you learn that, yeah, we have a certain DNA code, but how the genome expresses itself, we can manipulate some
Yes.
of the expression of it, then it becomes fun and you realize, wait a minute, you know, 10 people lined up can eat exactly the same thing and their body may not handle it, exactly the same. And so, and
So
that's
true.
the way our genome expression is, and you can alter that to harvest your calories better, to get more energy when you need it, to do different things. And Gus, he is a master at understanding I mean, he's had thousands and thousands of patients in his clinical practice, and now he just does precision medicine. And he's taught me. He's been a great mentor for me on all this stuff, and it's awesome, dude. So I'll send you some of that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll. I think
Amazing.
out on it.
Oh, I'm gonna geek out
Yeah,
like crazy. I'll
right.
be leather working and listening to those. That's for sure.
Well, good, dude. Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, Dale, man. I mean, I know what you get there.
Oh,
HCL.
this is HCL breakthrough. That's for gut health. It helps with digestion. Like it's from Bio Optimizers, the same place where I got my magnesium. I also really like their mass zymes. It's like a pineapple enzyme, really helps with digestion and absorbing essential nutrients that you might need, proteins, whatever. Um, but yeah, so I'm big on gut health as well. Apple cider vinegar.
Yep.
I try to drink that every day. It's
Gives
yeah,
I
gut
tried
is
I try to as well. It gives me kinda heartburn if I do it. I've started putting I have a green monster that I eat every day for lunch, which is just this big bowl of green goop, and
awesome.
I'll throw some in there. Now, let me ask you this, do you take creatine?
No, no, I do
Alright.
not. Should I?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Dale. So there's 2 okay, I'm gonna ask you this, and by the way, just full disclaimer, folks, I'm not a physician, I don't play one on the interwebs, this is not establishing a medical relationship, whatever to keep the lawyers off of me. Okay.
Yes.
Um, and then also, so I'll ask you about creatine. Do you take essential amino acids?
Yes, that I do.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So especially right now, if you're going to be pumping up the intermittent fasting,
Mhm.
those essential amino acids are going to be more important than ever because, you know, and one of the things that I learned from Gus is that those essential amino acids will actually give you the protein synthesis you need so if you start cutting your calories drastically, like these people that are getting on Ozempic and stuff,
Mhm.
they're doing that without supplementing the nutrients they're losing by just crushing their appetites. Essential amino
Yeah.
acids, you can go with very tiny amounts of food as long as you get those essential amino acids. Next,
Okay.
the creatine, dude, that is
Yeah.
my essential amino acids, and 5 grams of creatine every day are my desert island. If I was on a desert island, I could only take 2 supplements. I would take essential amino acids and creatine. Creatine is good for the neurological benefits. Building it used to be kinda like just what the bros use in the gym to get jacked. No,
Yeah.
actually, Dr. Jose Antonio, who's kinda like the master of understanding creatine, he was on my podcast a long time ago, and that's where I started really understanding it. And then if you look at, like, Peter Attia, Ben Greenfield, Matt Camberline, Lane Norton, all these guys, they'll tell you 5 grams of creatine every day without fail, in addition to whatever else they might be doing. So that's just something you might want to check out.
Inter I'll order some creatine soon as we hang up then.
Yeah.
Would this count as an essential amino acid? I do this occasionally, caprylic acid. It's an MCT oil, 1,000
No,
milligrams of it.
no. So that's different.
Okay.
There are, and I to try to name them, I completely forget. There are actually 8 essentials, and they're not to be confused with branched chain amino acids or any of those. There's like 8 essential ones. The ones
Okay.
the one that Gus got me on is uh Pure Amine Perfect Aminos by, Body Health. Those are the ones,
Okay.
but I'll actually hook you up with this too. I'll trade you a batch of this for maybe a watch band.
Yeah.
Gus is actually formulating our our own proprietary essential amino acid blend right now that we're having manufactured. Should be ready in about the next 2 months, and so
Ooh,
I'll hook you up, and that'll be what you need, and it just that should be
nice.
you should that's something like what I do, man. The first thing when I get up in the morning is I take my essential amino acids, and then I'm usually not gonna have anything to eat till around noon or 1, because I do intermittent fasting as well. And
Okay.
after a workout, I'll take some more. Usually they're in 15-gram doses, and then I'll take another set before I go to bed. Because as we get older, the key, and Peter Attia talks about this a lot right now,
Yeah.
all he cares about right now for longevity is maintaining zone 2 work to keep his VO2 max up and protein intake. And those essential amino acids, they are gonna supplement the lack of protein that most of us don't get because most people just don't eat enough protein, right? Unless you're eating ribeye steaks every night or whatever, you're gonna have a little bit of a deficit. Those essential amino acids will really help you make up for that deficit.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. That's probably the key that I needed to
Yeah,
enhance my my fasting. So
no, it makes a
yeah.
it makes a real difference. So, are you, like, trying to eating early and, what's your window?
Yeah, I try to just eat dinner. That's my goal right now, and I'm really just trying to cut weight, just cut because my stepson right now he looks like Captain America. He's on a wrestling team, and his waist is just rail thin, and it just reminds me of what I used to have. And I'm like, I've lost about 5 pounds in the last 2 weeks, but I'm really trying to push to get back to where I was when I was in my mid 20s.
Yeah.
Just 3% body fat. I'm just trying to be slender. I have from a life of just doing push-ups constantly, I have decent, you know,
Mm.
the muscular structure, but I really want to just cut out the fat,
Yeah.
just cut down on my fat, my body mass index there.
Well,
So,
I'm gonna send you that body comp handbook that Gus put together. It's awesome, dude. It'll give you the exact protocol. And again, it's all about and Gus approaches everything with your best health in mind first. It's like
okay,
and it's all about managing your body the way it was designed. You'll totally love it. So I'm gonna send that to you. And anything I can
amazing.
ever do to help on in that regard, and what we ought to do, this would be fun. Okay. Okay, my friend.
Let's do it.
I'm going to give you a free consultation with Gus on the podcast. I want to have you come on Authentic Health Friday and let's have this exact same conversation. Tell Gus what you're doing and have him pepper the questions with like, okay, Dale, what are you optimizing for? Here's some things I would do. That could be a lot of fun.
That would be amazing.
If you want to, I've actually, because I'll do that for you. And then I've also got another founder that I had on the podcast talking about his company that we're going to get him on because Gus and I've talked about that. Like, we want to start having guests on our Authentic Health Friday episodes to like find out what are you trying to optimize for? What challenges? What's your what was kind of what's your history? And let Gus in real time describe what to do now and then like things you might want to check out as far as blood work and all that. So if you're willing, dude, we'll get you
Man, I'm 100% on board. Thank you for
awesome.
that offer. That
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
amazing.
dude. Absolutely. That'll make for a fun episode. All right.
That would definitely would. I would love it. I would relish that opportunity. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, you got it. Well, brother, this has been a blast. I knew it would be.
Yeah. Yeah,
If we
absolutely.
talk about covered, man, we have covered everything from toxins to boots to watches. Dude, this was awesome. I love it.
Easily the best talk I've ever had. Thank you.
Oh, well, I want you to come back and what I'll do is I'm going to send all this to you. So feel free to use it if
Okay.
you want. And tell this audience how they can get in touch with you. I want them to shop with you. How can people reach you and follow what you're doing, Dale?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, yes, my website is dalesleatherworks.com. You could shop all my handmade items there. I'm also on YouTube and Instagram under the same name, Dale's Leatherworks. So yeah, easiest is just to DM me on Instagram. That's a pretty easy way to get in touch with me. Though that does get backed up sometimes. But yeah, yeah, my YouTube channel, I'm constantly releasing new videos there. And yeah, I like to stay active and engage with my audience. And I take no subscriber for granted. I appreciate all the love and support I've gotten over the years. So
Yeah. Well, brother, I tell you, man, I'm glad I discovered you. I'm glad now to call you friend. I'll do anything I can to help support your efforts. And so as a matter of fact, I'll of course link to your website in the show notes. And anytime I
okay,
can help you,
thank
brother,
you,
reach out.
man. Thank you so much. This has just been a golden opportunity, and it's been a blast getting to know you. And yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page with so many things. So
Hey, man,
likewise.
whenever you can make one of these conversations a moment for some iron sharpening iron, that makes it all the
Yeah,
sweet.
I completely agree.
All right. All right, brother. Well, I'll let you go. Go make some cool Leatherworks, and
Oh, I will.
I think
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and pre-order if I still can. I think hopefully I can still order those boots from Grant Stone. I'll go ahead and get me some
Yeah,
of those, Cordovan, Maduro shell. Yeah, there we go. So,
absolutely. Brothers in boots right there, my friend.
love it, love it. All right, brother. Thanks, Dale. I
Th-
appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much. I'll be talking to you soon, Jason. Thank you.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode of The Jason Wright Show. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a Texas Titan Media production. Fourth Wall did the music. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Please consider going out to jasonwrightnow.com and signing up for the Vitruvian Letter. Also, please go out to iTunes. It takes like 30 seconds to just leave us a 5-star rating. It does wonders for the podcast. I would be so grateful. And with that, until we meet again, go crush it and endeavor to improve always in all ways. I'm out.